Assalamu alaikum. Geography 8, book The Environment of Pakistan, unit number 2, climate, and this is revision week and lesson number 7. Learning objectives are: by the end of lesson, students will revise the climate of Pakistan, climatic zones of Pakistan, and effects of climate on life and economic activities of people. Subtopics are climate and weather, climatic zones. It includes all zones of Pakistan's climate. Pakistan, the seasons, climatic elements, which include temperature and rainfall. Pages under discussion or under revision would be 28 to 38.
Climate and weather. Together, they are among the most influential forces on Earth. One can influence where and how we choose to live, where we go, and what we wear each day. Climate refers to the average weather conditions of a place over a long period of time. The Earth has 6 main climate zones. Some are mild and inviting, like the Mediterranean climate of southern Europe. Others are harsh, like the arid deserts of northern Africa and the frozen tundra of Greenland. Through history, climate has often played a part in where people have chosen to settle. In the ancient world, some of the first permanent human communities occurred in places with hospitable climates. But humans have long had an amazing capacity to cope with more severe and challenging climates. Today, with widespread use of refrigeration for foods and of air conditioning and heating for homes, humans can survive in all climates, including the frozen desert of Antarctica or the blazing heat of Death Valley, California, where temperatures can soar above 130 degrees. Weather, on the other hand, refers to the day-to-day conditions of the Earth's atmosphere at a particular place and time. Weather can be glorious or annoying. It can also be devastating. Severe weather can destroy homes and property, cripple transportation, ruin crops, and create havoc for people caught in its path. In the United States, weather causes, on average, more than $11.4 billion in damages each year. About 15% of that damage occurs in Florida alone, a state that sees more than its share of hurricanes, floods, and tornadoes.
Climatic zones are divided into highland climate, lowland climate, coastal climate, and arid climate. These are the climatic zones of Pakistan. These climatic zones, if we talk about highland, we are having northern mountains, northern highland, which includes Hindu Kush, the Karakoram range, the Himalayas, northwestern and western highland. The region having high lofty mountains. The winters, if we talk about, mostly cold, long, and snowy, and summers are short and mild, which attracts lots of tourists over there. Um, Temperature conditions are vary from north to west depending on altitude. The summer remains wet and mild in northern mountains. The temperature condition, if we talk, half of the year these areas are closed due to heavy snowfall. These areas having highest mountain ranges, northern mountain range from 2000 to 8000 meters and western from 1000 to 4000 meters. Rains in northern mountains as the highest in highland zone. The western mountain and rain shadow areas, which include Gilgit and Chitral, experience less rainfall. The rainfall decreases and occurs during winter season only due to western depression. Lowland climate, semi-arid to arid. This region includes the whole of Indus Plain except the coastal area. Most parts of the Indus Plain lie at the western end of the tropical monsoon zone. It has arid and extreme climate with hot summers, cool winters, and summer monsoon rainfall. The amount of rainfall differs from north to south. The foothills of northern mountains and Potwar Plateau are wetter than the Indus Plain and also receive rainfall from western depressions. Thunderstorms are also common in the north and northwestern west of the Indus Plain. The southern upper Indus Plain and the whole of lower Indus Plain have much less rainfall and spells of very high temperature. Coastal climate. This region includes the southern coastal strip comprising of the Indus Delta, Karachi and the whole of Makran coast. The climate is dominated by sea breezes throughout the year. The humidity level is moderately high, exceeding more than 50% from April to September. Mean monthly temperature is 32. The temperature is moderate. The difference between maximum and minimum temperature is less. There is inflow of sea breezes throughout the summer and the humidity is high. Coastal climate include Indus Delta, Karachi and whole of Makran coast. The hottest May and June and October are the hottest month. During October, dry winds from southeastern desert dominate the climate.
A maritime influence is an influence in which areas near the ocean receive more precipitation. In summer, the land heats up, while the ocean remains comparatively cool. In winter, the land loses heat quickly and becomes cold, while the ocean is much warmer and keeps its warmth for a long time.
Climatic elements. There are four main climatic elements: temperature, pressure, rainfall, and winds. These are responsible for the regional and seasonal variation in climates of Pakistan. If we talk about temperature, diversity of temperature in various regions is due to following factor. First one is that Pakistan is widely spread on latitude from 24° north to 37° north. Diversity of relief is also a factor. That is, we are having very high mountains like K2. Its height is 8,611 meters. And if we move towards south, we are having low-lying coastal areas there. The upper and lower Indus plains heat up during the summer, making the daily maximum temperature rise up to 40° to 45° Celsius, which is very hot. And we also have experienced this temperature in our own region because we are in upper Indus plain. Jacobabad is located in lower Indus plain and is known as thermal pole of subcontinent, where the maximum temperature reaches 53° in June and the mean monthly maximum temperature reaches 43° Celsius in May and June. Coastal areas have moderate temperature during summer and winter. Sea breezes dominate the climate, lowering the daily range of temperature. Now let's talk about the factors that are affecting on temperature of Pakistan. First one, we will see the latitudinal effect. The areas closer to the equator receive relatively direct rays of the sun, resulting in high temperature because sun rays are straight over there. Southern Pakistan is closer to equator than northern Pakistan. That is why we are having high temperature on that areas. Next, continental effect. It is general term covering the climate of those areas protected from unaffected by maritime influence. Maritime influence means the influence of sea on temperatures. Along coastal areas, ocean currents and prevailing wind usually have moderating effect on temperature. You have studied many times. This is why extreme winter and summer temperatures are recorded in the interior of large land masses away from the moderating influences of sea. Means large land masses in the heart of continent are usually having high temperature. Next factor is altitude and temperature. There is a relationship between altitude, air density, and temperature. The air is densest at sea level because that is where it absorbs most water vapor, dust particles, and solar radiation. Air is least dense at high altitude because less solar radiation is absorbed at that level, with less air to absorb heat at higher altitude. There is an average drop of 6.5 degrees Celsius in temperature for each 1000 meter increase in altitude. Cloud cover and temperature. Cloud cover affect temperature to some extent. In the daytime, it reduces the amount of incoming solar radiation by reflecting it back into outer space, resulting in drop in day temperature. At night, the cloud cover traps the outgoing heat. As a result, temperature on a cloudy night does not drop as low as temperature on clear nights. You may have observed this phenomenon during these days. Like if we are having clouds in the night, we are having same temperature, like high temperature, not dropping of temperature experienced. Latitude and the angle of sun. The term angle of sun refer to the position of earth in relation to sun. The diagram diagram shows that sun's rays do not fall at the same angle everywhere on the earth's surface. Latitude position determines the amount of heat received by the sun.
The South Asian monsoon is a system of winds that reverse direction at roughly the same time every year. As they move up and down the Indian subcontinent, these winds carry fresh water to hundreds of millions of farmers. Consequently, the usually highly predictable monsoon rains are the lifeblood of agriculture throughout the Indian subcontinent. The monsoon has two phases. The first carries moisture from the Arabian Sea up through the Indian subcontinent. It begins in June and covers most of India with rain until September. In late September, these winds reach the Himalayas and make an abrupt about-face. From late October to December, the monsoon glides back down over the subcontinent on its way to the Indian Ocean. The monsoon rains are the main source of water for 55% of the country's arable land. This means the rains are crucial, not only for India's farmers, but its economy as a whole. Now, that's a good thing when the monsoon arrives on time and brings the right amount of rain. But when it's late or weak, it leads to drought. When it's too strong, it can trigger floods. The two-phase pattern of the winds defines Indian agriculture, so when the pattern shifts even slightly, it can have real implications for food production.
As this warm air moves away from the sea towards the mountains, something crucial will happen to it. Let's take a volume of this air. You can't see it, but it has water in it in the form of vapor. How much vapor depends on the air temperature. This mass of warm air at 30 degrees can hold around 15 grams of water vapor in every kilogram of air. When the temperature of the volume of air goes down beyond a certain point, the water vapour condenses into water droplets. The droplets form around specks of dust or around specks of salt picked up from the sea. We can then see the water as clouds. And when the droplets grow large enough, they fall as rain. This whole process happens as the warm air rises and cools against the windward side of the mountains. 2 or 3 times a week you can see it with your own eyes. This is temperate rainforest, one of the rarest vegetation types in the world today. In these conditions, there's always a huge difference between the rainfall on the windward side of a mountain range and on the other side, the leeward. It happens worldwide where mountains stand in the way of the westerly winds in the temperate latitudes.
Locals, one of these is just as important as sunblock. In fact, they have a saying, the hotter it is, then the harder it will rain.
That's because the weather patterns here are dominated by convectional rain. It's another way in which air is lifted and cooled. When the ground gets intensely heated by the sun, the warm air rises. As it does so, it cools and the water vapour condenses. Clouds are formed, eventually leading to rain.
Converging trade winds meet. The warm air, heavily laden with water vapour, is forced to rise. In the cooling air, water vapour condenses into droplets. This change of state from water vapour to liquid releases latent heat, which further warms the atmosphere and allows it to become more and more buoyant. The air rises even more rapidly and produces more and more violent thunderclouds.
But that's only the beginning. Trade winds drawn in at the Earth's surface arrive on a curved path due to the Earth's rotation. Here we see the first recognisable pattern of a spinning tropical storm. As the storm grows larger, more moist warm air is drawn in at the surface. More water vapour condenses into cloud droplets and more latent heat is released. This is how energy is driven into the storm and the speed of rotation increases. This system is now a tropical storm, and when the surface wind reaches sustained speeds of over 74 miles an hour, the storm is officially a Category 1 hurricane.
We've all seen pictures of hurricanes hitting land, but what's happening inside the storm?
Rising currents of warm, moist air form thunderclouds. As the air cools, it becomes more dense and falls again, and we get this alternating pattern of storm clouds with clear slots in between. This gives us the appearance of spiralling rain bands, which we see on satellite pictures looking down on hurricanes from above.
Hurricanes are measured on a scale from 1 to 5 depending on the wind strength. As a hurricane grows in intensity, it develops a very distinctive structure with what looks like a hole in the middle of a swirling mass of clouds. This clear zone in the centre of the storm is called the eye, and around it is the eye wall. The eye wall is the most destructive part of the hurricane, containing the most severe thunderstorms and the very strongest winds. In a Category 5 hurricane, winds in the eye wall can exceed 155 miles an hour. Yet in the eye itself, the wind drops right away to give a short-lived, eerie calm.
As well as causing massive damage simply because of their destructive strength, hurricane-force winds can have an even more devastating side effect.
Western disturbance is the low-pressure system that originates over the Mediterranean Sea and moves eastwards. This causes rainfall in Iran, Pakistan, and India and snowfall in India.
Pressure and winds during summer season, the temperature in central Pakistan is high. This causes the hot air to rise up and form a low pressure zone, At the same time, oceans and seas have comparatively low temperature. This is because water absorbs and discharges heat slowly as compared to the land. The air pressure over the oceans and seas is higher than over the land during summer. This leads to the movements of monsoon winds from sea to land, which are moisture laden and bring heavy rainfall to the upper and lower Indus plains in the months of July and August. During winter, the whole situation is reversed because the pressure over the land gradually increases and high pressure area is created in the northwest of Pakistan. The summer monsoon gradually retreat in autumn and are replaced by land winds blowing out from the high pressure areas. These winds are called the winter monsoon or northeast monsoon.
High pressure is generally associated with nice weather, while low pressure is generally associated with cloudy, rainy, or snowy weather. In order to understand the types of weather conditions generally associated with high and low pressure systems, we must think vertically. The movement of air in the atmosphere above our heads play a large part in the weather we experience here at Earth's surface. Basically, air cools as it rises, which can cause water vapor in the air to condense into liquid water droplets, sometimes forming clouds and precipitation, rainfall. On the other hand, sinking air is associated with warming and drying condition. So the first important point to keep in mind is rising air equals to moisture and sinking air is equal to drying. So what does this have to do with high and low pressure? So as you know, high pressure is associated with sinking air and low pressure is associated with rising air. Generally, it makes sense that air flows from high pressure to low pressure. And the reason is due to gravity. Due to Earth's gravitational force, the airflow is directed inward toward the low pressure center and outward away from the high pressure center. Therefore, you can also say the wind in a high pressure system flows in clockwise direction out of the center, while in low pressure system, wind flows in an anti-clockwise direction towards the center. Now the inward moving of air in low pressure causes air to converge, and since it cannot move downward due to the surface, the air is forced to go upward, leading to condensation and precipitation, which is called rainfall. And the opposite occurs with high pressure. Air is moving away from the high pressure center at the surface, which is called diverging. So as a result, air from above must sink to take its place. Hence, this is the reason why high pressure leads to good climate and low pressure leads to rainy climate. Usually, ocean surface has high pressure and land surface has low pressure. And when the cool air over the water moves from high pressure to low pressure area, that is towards land, since land gets heated faster than water, therefore the air over there moves upwards. And we learnt that during low pressure the air moves up, hence condensation and precipitation takes place.
Effectiveness of rainfall. The rainfall in Pakistan is mainly from monsoon winds and western depressions, as we have studied in previous pages and we revised it too. The monsoon winds bring rainfall during summer season, which is variable in amount, time and distribution. It means we don't know how much amount we are having of monsoon rainfall and what is the exact timing for these rainfalls and what areas these rainfalls are going to cover. That is why the effectiveness of monsoon rainfall is of limited value to agriculture. Another factor is that limits the usefulness of rainfall is high temperature condition from June to September over the Indus plain. This leads to a great degree of evapotranspiration, water transpired. Monsoon rainfall come in heavy showers, which is not very useful for the crops because land does not absorb the rainwater. Most of water from monsoon rains drain away, causing floods in low-lying areas. However, reservoirs of the dams or river Indus and distributaries help to store extra water during the rainy season that can later be utilized in dry season. We use that water for agriculture and also for hydroelectric power generation. The variable nature of monsoon rainfall also lessens its usefulness for the farmers. Crop planning is very difficult if the amount and timing of rainfall have above normal fluctuations. Only tiny fraction of Potwar Plateau has canal irrigation. For the rest, it is barani land. It means dependent on rainfall because of impracticability of lifting irrigation water up to flat plateau surface and also of irrigating the heavily eroded badland areas. We have studied that Potwar Plateau having badland topography. The winter rainfall is more effective for farmers because it comes in light showers that continues for several days, and it winter rainfall properly absorbed in the soil. However, the amount of winter rainfall is also not sufficient and cannot be rely upon them. It only occurs in western and northern regions. Coastal and southern Pakistan have to depend upon monsoon rainfall. Generally, the rainfall in Pakistan is neither dependable nor enough in quantity. As a result, farming mainly depends on the irrigation system. However, in northern Punjab and Potwar Plateau, being wetter than the rest of Pakistan, there are number of rain-fed or barani farms where subsistence farming is practiced only for their own need. Farmer practice for barani lands. It is not possible to develop canal irrigation in plateau regions. At the end of lesson, we are having assignments. Today, I'm giving you two assignments. First one is question number one. Three types of rain are experienced in Pakistan: monsoon, depression, and convection. Each of three types of rain is associated with rising air. Why rising air is needed to produce rain? Explain your answer. Think about it. Why rising air is required for rain? For each of three, explain how rising air is produced in Pakistan. In the Indus Plain, the summer rainfall is not always reliable. What problems are caused for agriculture? We recently discussed. You can reply it. If the rain arrives early, what will happen? And if the rain arrives late, what will be the consequences? You have to explain this answer. So here's your second assignment. You have studied about the natural topography of Pakistan, which includes lofty mountains of north, lofty mountains of Karakoram, Himalayas, and Hindu Kush of north to coastal areas of Balochistan and Sindh. Here is a task for you to improve tourism in Pakistan. Make a travel guide of Pakistan which can attract the foreign as well as local tourists. You can also make a pamphlet or a brochure to attract tourism. A sample is attached with the slide. You can add beautiful pictures of valleys. You have studied about them. You can include the lakes, pictures of Potwar Plateau, historical places of Indus Plain, lower and upper Indus Plain, and beautiful beaches of Balochistan.